Welcome to writingalong.com. Today's episode is all about antisocial people being better writers. Now, you can say that's an opinion piece, but for the most part, I think it's kind of true. Just from what I've seen, what I've noticed about the kinds of people who have approached me and asked me questions about writing, or who message me, leave me emails, that kind of stuff. It's usually a certain kind of person in terms of like cognition, in terms of the way you see the world, the way you talk to other people. You're generally very in your head. It just goes without saying. You live in your head, and you're kind of stuck there sometimes. And at times, you may find other ways of letting it out, letting loose. And most people don't really understand why you like living there so much. They don't think you actually do like living there. They're trying to pull you out of it, but they don't see that it has kind of a purpose. It has a point, and it's actually something you enjoy. It's something that's not so bad. But for them in their heads, they're like, why would you want to be so in your thoughts? Like, what kind of life is that? What kind of existence is that? And it's hard to understand. Much like it might be hard for you to understand. Why would you want to talk to everybody you see and meet? Like, why would you share everything about yourself to just anybody or everybody? It's not a dichotomy. It's like a spectrum in terms of personality types, but in general, antisocial tendencies have kind of taken on less of a negative connotation, association, definition. As I record this video, maybe that changes with cultural shifts, but right now, at least, I'd be pretty sure you can agree with me. It's okay to be antisocial. I'm sure, and isolation, pandemic-induced isolation may have had something to do with that. That's the first time in this 100 days of writing advice that I've even mentioned pandemic. Go figure. And it's really just something that people, they're more aware of, maybe not always more understanding of, but it's okay. And before, if you use the word antisocial, it's not a great definition that was not a great diagnosis to ever even have. You never even want to associate yourself with that word. But I mean, it's a result. It's more than just a personality type. Sometimes it's induced, sometimes it's exacerbated, and it's just made more apparent based on your context, based on your surroundings. It happens if you're in a situation where the people around you just don't relate with them. You don't relate with them at all, not even a little bit. Then of course they're going to see you as antisocial, and your behavior is going to reflect that. People who wouldn't even ever try to understand who you are, they just don't care, or that kind of stuff like that. That would definitely influence a personality type like that. And eventually you might reach a place where you do meet some people that you do kind of mesh with a little bit more. Their own personalities may not have collided with yours before, but now they do. But, all personality habits die hard, or they never die, rather. You just kind of live and become a part of you. And like I said, others always want to constantly drag you out of there. Nope, you're pretty happy there. You've got used to it. You've made it home. And as a writer, it's not a bad place to be. If anything, it helps writing. Most people who don't have this personality type, or even just a little bit, just a flavor of it, just a tiny bit in who they are, though, if their personality and they're known, they'll hire someone to write their book. Which is a great disservice, because they still can write a book. If you're not antisocial, if you're the opposite, and you're watching this, you can still write a book. It's not something you can't do. I'm just saying it's a little. Antisocial people have it a little easier. As easy as it can really be to begin with, right? And the reason for that is that you're already familiar with your voice, with your own voice. Sometimes it's shouting at you, sometimes it's screaming at you, it's taking you just on this roller coaster of thoughts and emotions, and you can't really get a hold of anything, or you can't even get your own word in edgewise. It's just like being bombarded by your inner voice, whether it's critical of you, whether it's praising of you, whether it's just so distracted by everything. But you know what it sounds like. And when you're already at that point, I'm telling you, that's all you really got to do. Once you got to hear that voice, you got to hear what it's saying, you got to have conversations with it. And it may seem like if you're vocalizing it, it just sounds like you're talking to yourself. You're having a full-on conversation with yourself. And it doesn't mean you're out of your mind or you've lost your head. It's very, very possible to have a decent, pleasant conversation with yourself over, you can have it over a drink, over a cup of coffee, whatever, or just upon waking up, before anybody else wakes up, when there's a moment of silence. And you can find these moments when a lot of people are around you and talking to, it's just a little harder. But you can hear what you're saying. And those are the words that you use to write with. Those are the words that actually end up on the page, not yours. Not the ones that are leaving my mouth once I'm talking, coming to my vocal cords, not your vocal, not those. It's actually that inner voice that is, you're transcribing for it. You know, in a court, they always have that person who's just typing away. That's why there is a certain element. I know I have one of these pieces of writing advice called "Don't Be Humble," but I got into the specifics of why I said that. There, you can look that up, writing along, don't be humble. But you do need a sense of it for yourself sometimes, because again, you're not the one wholly responsible for the words that come out. Technically, it's you. I mean, you're hearing it in your head, but give yourself a break. Don't think you're the greatest thing ever, because first of all, that's unstable, and second of all, it's not fully you. This is who you are, the person who I would be talking to if I met you. And we're having a conversation. You can say that's you, right? But this inner voice, you don't exactly have full control over it. Even if you wanted to, it's more just free reign. It's on its own. This sense of being, this fractured being that you can build a connection with and a friendship with. People say, be friends with yourself. You know, be a close friend. Be trusted. Trust yourself. Does that just mean I trust every decision I make? No, trust that voice in you. Trust yourself. Build it. It doesn't just come because you say, oh, I trust it, cool. No, get to know it. Get to know who you are by talking with it. Find those moments of quiet and really foster that connection, that growth. You can't really be a good writer if you don't even acknowledge that it exists, that side of you exists. You can be a good writer without being a great person. And those words are so arbitrary, right? Good and great. But you know what I mean when I say them. I trust. I trust. I know and I acknowledge that you know what I mean when I say you don't have to be a great person. That has a meaning. There's a connotation. That whole connected sentence together has more significance than the word great on its own. And I'm telling you, you can really get to this level of yourself understanding without necessarily getting there. There's no destination point that you have to arrive at. I'm not there. It doesn't matter. It's just being in that journey. Once you're already engaged in a dialogue, an active dialogue and connection with it, with yourself, the words, they're second nature. It just comes easy. Because then it's just transcribing what's going on here. What it's saying. Maybe it's sitting you down and telling you a story, and that's what you're writing down. Because this inside here is way more sensitive to everything around you. You kidding me? Your body, your sense of touch, hearing, all that stuff, sight, even the light that reflects into your eyeballs and gets translated into visual cortex images, all that stuff. It's not always reliable, but your brain is all of them, and not even just your brain. I mean, it's all interconnected. But your body as a whole, as it perceives, as this being is inhabiting this body that you're living in, as a whole, it's much more powerful than the isolated sense that you have. So when you acknowledge that, you can realize that your flesh, your brain, you have hair, you cannot have hair, it doesn't matter. Like, all these parts of you are listening. They're hearing much more than just your ears can hear. And you can really foster that and cultivate that just by starting small. Say, ask yourself, what are you feeling? And don't try to answer it. I mean, listen to it. You will hear an answer. And that's what kind of, it brings you into a greater conversation. Because you're a human. You're just another person. You can have a great book to share with the world. But guess what? You're not so special in the terms of the terminology of meaning. Oh, you're a unique snowflake who can write a great book and good for you and gold star, that kind of stuff. No, I mean, you are incredibly unique, but there's more to you. There's more around you. And you can be a part of that. You can tap into it. You can take what's good from it just by hearing it. And your body is like, can really hear. It's an instrument. It picks up on reverberations around it. I don't even mean in this abstract spiritual sense that I cannot, articulate or provide evidence for. I don't even mean in a specific religious sense, because I don't want to discriminate from anybody. I can reach everybody by saying this. You know that there are things that you can't exactly sense in front of you, but you know they're there. You walk into a room and you feel something, and what is it? I don't know. I can't see it with my eyes. What is it? I can't hear it, but I feel, that kind of stuff. You don't have to fully understand it. I don't fully understand it right now, but I know it exists. I know it exists. I know it's real. And my writing shows me that. My writing reflects that, and that's why it comes easy. It comes easier. And this is stuff that you're not going to learn exactly in Writing 101 in your local university. Because guess what? Those professors probably didn't write a book, nor were they really actively involved or engaged in what it took to. Or if they did, I don't know what their motivations were. My motivations are to make videos for people who have something to say, not just people who are writing just for the money or something. It'd be nice to, right? If your stuff connects and really, reaches and market and all that stuff, but I don't want you to become an empty writer, and I don't think you want to really be one either. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You'd be on one of the millions of other sources that say, how to make $1 million from a book that no one really cares about, but you trick people into thinking they can. Like that kind of stuff. Who cares? The lasting stuff is the stuff that comes from here, that comes from everything, that isn't so self-centered, that really acknowledges that which is within, that which isn't so far from you. It's closer than you think. It's right in front of you. I have this guide on my website, writingalone.com. I want you to grab your free copy. And I don't want you to be afraid of this kind of conversation with writing, because this is what it takes. This is where you come from when your best stuff really comes out. When you're aware of this. This is what you need to know as a writer. This is what you need to have in mind. And you need to have those conversations with yourself. All right, I'll see you on the next episode. I'll see you around. Thanks for watching again.